So that's like 28,000. So yeah, I mean, think about it. If you get a 4-bedroom house for that much money in honestly a city that I think more and more people are going to discover to be really interesting, because I have been learning Japanese. I use these apps to try to like talk to random Japanese people and like get my speaking up better. And I talked to people recently. I'm like, what do you think about Kanazawa? And they're like, Ishikawa prefecture is like my favorite place in Japan.
Really?
Kanazawa is like one of my favorite places to visit.
Okay.
And my Japanese teacher, she lives in Osaka, and she's like, man, my husband and I love to go up there. That's like, it's so pretty, and that's a good sign too.
Welcome back to the Buying a House in Japan podcast, the #1 Akiya podcast in the world. Today I am recording solo, or actually rather a new guest. We have Devin Silvernail here today. He's actually going through the AkiyaMart Direct process right now with us. I think we'll talk about it a little bit more, but offer just submitted, so fingers crossed.
Yep.
Devin is located currently in France. He's been helping us actually edit our podcast. So if you've been noticing an uptick or an up level in our podcast the past couple months, you can give a round of applause to Devin here. But Devin, welcome to the show. Really excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. And if you've noticed the quality go down, attribute that to somebody else.
It is only going up. You've put a level of attention that, before I would just like click AI slop, like generate, cut the words. So it has been sounding better. So thank you, Devin, first off, for leveling up our podcast, and looking forward to continue to improve it. But Devin, give us a quick intro of yourself. You have quite an interesting background. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Take. Kind of funny to actually be recording with you, because, I reached out because I was a podcast listener as well. Kind of shot in the dark to see how I could help out with the whole AkiyaMart project. So I was really impressed with that. Thank you for that. But yeah, like you said, I live in France. I either have a really good American impression or I'm not French. And so I'll tell you it's the latter. I grew up in Seattle, and I've been in France now for about 2 years. My wife is French, and we thought it was basically time to get moving here after she'd spent 10 years in America. Be closer to family, got a kid, be closer to cousins and things like that. French education system is also it's better and it's cheaper. Previous to this, I mean, it's kind of funny that I'm editing podcasts. In my past life, I was doing policy development. I worked for a city council member in Seattle, creating policy around housing. So it's kind of adjacent to this.
Yep.
and some other things. But now, stepping out and doing a new, turning the page on a new chapter, and here we are.
Damn, you have an exciting life, Devin. Did you ever think, like, when you were a kid that you'd be living in France, or was it like a 0% thought?
No, it's actually kind of crazy because, coming here, I mean, being in France, speaking French, and in general everything was on a whim. And for me, I mean, tying into the whole Japan thing, in high school, the foreign language that I took was Japanese. And that's what I wanted to do. And I think I did that because I didn't want to learn a European foreign language. And it was the only non-European language we had in my school. But then when I went to college, I realized, well, I don't think I've ever spoken Japanese to anybody. and and I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I figured, well, why not living in San Francisco, a place where French is not useful? Why don't I learn French? And so I did, and ended up just walking by my school study abroad office one day. I saw that they were doing study abroad in Paris, and I said, I guess, why not? I guess I'd apply to that. Why not? Turns out it was really expensive, but I could get a scholarship. So I applied to that scholarship and I got it. And I ended up here, and I met my wife when I was studying here. And that's where I am now. But it was totally a whim. I mean, it was just totally, I decided, like, why the hell not? And that's kind of the way that I fell in with you guys. I said, why the hell not? The worst I can do is reach out to them and they can, they can brush me off. But here we are.
It's really interesting. Like none of this project would actually have happened if I or Joey did not study abroad in Tokyo. So I think if for some reason we have a college age student listening to this, like, damn it, just go take that year abroad. I think it really does change your life if you had, versus staying in the stateside. And, it changes the trajectory of your life in ways you can't comprehend. So yeah, I think both of us, a lot of people that we work with actually have done that, live abroad, study abroad, and it really helps kind of broaden the horizons, but also changes life for the better, I think. Okay, a couple things I want to touch on there. So you're doing housing policy in Seattle. That was what you were doing for a little bit?
Yeah, well, so yeah, I mean, my portfolio is pretty big. So I did anything from parks and transportation. Trying to remember the word in English now because I haven't said it in like 2 years. Well, housing and urban development. I was also a committee clerk. So that's just the people, like if you watch C-SPAN, they're the ones that are calling out like the name of the bill, and they're sitting at a computer looking really, really bored. So did a lot of that. Yeah. And I mean, anything from it was mostly affordable housing and trying to get housing for people who are like living without a house, and trying to finance that kind of stuff. And I really got into this kind of almost, I mean, I wouldn't call it the Japan adventure and investing side because that's not an amazing idea, but the idea of investing else in general came through that job. My best friend at work and we used to sit there during the budget when we wanted to like we just wanted to walk away because it was hellish during budget, and we would talk about investing. And that actually put the spark in me as well for this. And that happened 2 or 3 years before I even thought a house in Japan would be possible.
Understood. Just for context here, have you purchased a property before in either the stateside or France?
Yeah, so definitely have purchased in Seattle, which I thought was impossible, honestly.
Yep.
I think for anyone trying to buy a house in the States, like it is very hard.
Freaking hard.
We had a credit union in the States that offered first-time home buyer mortgage, made it a little bit easier. And then we also bought a house here in France, which was in some ways easier and the worst experience of my life. I mean, it took us from the time we decided to buy and we talked to the company here who was selling our house to the time that we purchased. It took us like 8 months at least.
Okay.
And they had to like sift through all your bank records.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Okay, so you have a property in North America, Europe, and here we go. We're going for APAC, specifically Japan. What kind of sparked that, or what triggered you to make this move and want to buy something, or have you been thinking about it for a long time?
Yeah, it's really interesting because kind of like coming to France, I didn't think that was going to happen. I never imagined living in Europe, and never imagined even visiting Japan after high school. When I was in high school, our Japanese teacher, the reason I took it the entire time I was in school, because our Japanese teacher kept saying, oh, next year, we're going to go to Tokyo, you guys.
Oh,
the
really?
French club got to go to Paris, so we're going to go to Tokyo. That never happened. and so, from like age 18 to like 35 or so, I kind of just didn't think about Japan. And I kind of just assumed that dream kind of died. And at some point, Japan was just opening up after the pandemic, and my wife and I saw, the tickets were cheap, and we decided to go, and we went there, and like some of that high school Japanese came back, and we were able to interact with people, and it was just such a cool time. We barely did anything on that trip, went to Tokyo and Hakone, and that was really it. But that kind of reopened everything for me, and then ended up going back a little bit later, doing a bigger adventure, Osaka, the Shimanami Kaido, going to Shikoku.
You did the bike ride?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and that really, at that point, I was like, shit, man, okay, well, I started relearning Japanese. I do classes every Wednesday. I've been doing that for 2.5 years now. And then I was like, some YouTuber is telling me that I can buy a house in Japan.
Okay.
And I started to see that pop up, and started to talk a little bit, and one thing led to another. It was probably Shu, but there was other folks there too. I have to do a huge shout out to the Bentons down in the Setouchi area. They I watched some of their videos too. That's where I thought we were going to be looking for a while, down in Onomichi, Ehime Prefecture, Hiroshima Prefecture, but ended up working with them for a little bit as well. Great people, and that's part of it as well.
Curious, what was your like gateway into Japanese culture? Was it like Dragon Ball Z or video games or like? Yeah, I think we're in the same generation. What was the hook?
Yeah. You know what? It probably was, honestly, like
DBZ.
Because anime was pretty limited too at that time, so it was definitely like Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
It was that Toonami block, Dragon Ball Z.
Man, that was legendary.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
And then Pokemon, because I think Pokemon came out when I was like 10, and my cousin and I we'd play that together. When I was around 14, Ichiro, the
Legend.
goat, came to the Seattle Mariners. That opened up a lot of it too, honestly. And so I would say it was a combination of the nerdiness on all levels, because baseball is, I think, the nerdiest sport you can possibly follow. And the anime, video games, Nintendo was nearby.
Yep.
For us too. And and it just kind of turned into a perfect storm, I suppose, leading into high school and taking Japanese.
That's the classic formula for a thing. Like Toonami. If you watch Toonami and you're buying a home in Japan now, it'll make sense. That was like peak childhood, like watching Dragon Ball Z episodes where they're just like charging the entire episode and then playing Pokemon with your friends with the little cable and trading Pokemon stuff. Like such a cool time that I hope kids these days have that similar experience. I'm not sure if they do.
For real. Well, I'll tell you, my best friend from childhood, and we're still friends, him and I met because I was walking my dog, and I walked past this house, and my dog was like this husky that was just crazy dog. Like got out of my control, ran up to his door, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry." And the only words he said to me, the first thing he said to me was, "Do you like Pokemon?"
Tight.
So there you go, and we've been friends since.
All right, so let's jump into it. You've been, so you reached out to us first via our email. So we actually have a new alias, podcast at Akiya-Mart.com. If you are listening to this and you feel like you can contribute, we're open ears here. We're doing a lot of pilot projects with a lot of people here, just because it's generally been me and Joey, but we recognize there's a lot of stuff to build on the site. Podcast, the YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok. It really is crazy as we build this business how much stuff there is to do. So Devin reached out to us. So thank you for shooting that shot, Devin. It's been great to have you on. We have started the AkiyaMart Direct process with you, which is our purchasing process. Give us the update. How's it been thus far? How's your search been? Where are you looking? What's happened this past month?
We did, honestly, about a year and a half of prep work to even get to this point, right? Like we tried to figure out where we wanted to be looking, the kind of houses we wanted, the kind of investment we would want to make. And we really wanted to come prepared. And so in October, we saw a house in Osaka, my favorite city in Japan. And it seemed perfect.
It
was, it was in a great neighborhood. It was near a park that our kid loves. It was on a metro line that, we knew pretty well. And we're like, all right, well, let's go. That's the house we want. And it just turned out that house, they didn't want us, right? So we didn't quite match. And during that time, we were also looking, like I said, in Onomichi, a town that my wife loves. I love it too. I think it's beautiful. It's small, but it's not too small. The mountains and sea, the bike riding, you gotta love it.
People are hype on Onomichi right now. It's probably actually unsuspectingly popular, I think, amongst a lot of our customers. So if you're hearing this could be a signal. Maybe check out Onomichi. It's not that cheap though. It is getting expensive.
Yeah. It's getting more expensive. It kind of stagnated, honestly, in our price range over the past year. And that's why we moved away from Onomichi eventually. But I mean, I got to put it this way. If you're looking for, if you want to do Minpaku or a ryokan or something, like that. There are 300,000 people coming through Onomichi every year just for the Shimanami Kaido. And there's that real culture there. If you're not looking for that though, if you're looking for something that is interesting, I think told Take that I thought it was like the Portland of Japan. It's very like crafty and artisanal, good coffee, etc. I mean,
Okay.
Seattle coffee is better than Portland coffee, but
Take that.
But yeah, no, it's cool. But we ended up kind of drifting toward Kanazawa, which is a place that I had kept an eye on from a
For the
distance.
listener, where is Kanazawa located? Like in relation to Tokyo, how do you get from Tokyo? Narita, you land in Narita Airport. How do you get to Kanazawa?
It is 2.5 hours away from Tokyo by Shinkansen. You have to go. I think it's from like somewhere in Saitama that you have to take the Shinkansen to get there. But 2.5 hours from the largest city in the world, Tokyo, and it's kind of northwest. It's north of Kyoto.
What prefecture is Kanazawa?
It's Ishikawa prefecture.
Okay, Ishikawa.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like so if you're looking at Japan and it's this like kind of J-looking type formations on the upper left side, closer to like Niigata area. So
south of Niigata, a little ways.
Okay, why Kanazawa? Like, did you go there before and you're like, I like this place, or what? Yeah.
Honestly, never been to Kanazawa, so we are it is a little bit of a shot in the dark, but that is a place that we wanted to go to. And had we had 2 months to go around Japan, it would have been a place that we went to, but we had to pick where we wanted to go eventually. And man, I mean, we ended up in Matsuyama, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a ways away, and it would have never worked out. But again, just from what I've seen, it has that Kyoto vibe without the tourists. It's got multiple seasons. I think that's the thing about Onomichi is it's warm to like unpleasantly hot. Whereas you get snow, but you don't get like that crazy Tohoku snow, like where it's like 6 meters of snow in a year or whatever. I think it's only like 1.5, 2 meters of snow a year in Kanazawa. So there's that. And there's other really cool stuff around there that I personally just want to check out and I want to have a base camp for. The Inaka countryside around there looks really nice, and I want to visit the countryside, but I don't want to live there, so I need it to be in a city. But for us, it's a moderately sized city too. It's about 500,000 people. Where we live, we live in the 7th largest city in France, Nantes, and we're 300,000. We have everything we need here. So, that's the way that we kind of look at it there too. We can buy a couple bikes, mamachari, and ride around, and that's all we need, as long as we got access to the grocery store. We got the Shinkansen right there. We can get to Tokyo in 2.5 hours. We can get to Kyoto if we want to. We can get to Osaka. I mean, again, I just want to be able to have access to Osaka too.
Kanazawa is interesting. I think within Ishikawa, we have had a couple people buy in Kanazawa. It's actually quite closer to Eric. Eric's a big fan of that upper kind of inland sea. So from a climate and even snow perspective, you're not too far away. Okay, so Kanazawa, tell us about the property you found. How did you find it? Try to walk us through like what we're doing this audio, but like what's the house look like and why'd you pick it?
Well, let me pull up the AkiyaMart listing, right?
Okay, Clark, so you found it on AkiyaMart. Let's go. Okay.
I mean, honestly, dude, I'll tell you, like, I can't remember when I found AkiyaMart, but it was a place that I've had 3 tabs open on every device for the past,
let's go,
like, I don't know, like year or so. It is central Kanazawa, but it's not next to the Higashiyama or the castle or any of that. But it's a 6 LDK, so it's pretty big. It's pretty huge. The lot itself is just a little ways tucked off the road. It's off of a little walking path, which I like. It's recently renovated. They put down it's vinyl flooring, so it's not real hardwood, but you have a couple of the downstairs has vinyl flooring. You've got a couple of washitsu rooms upstairs with the
tatami looks
with
good. I'm
tatami.
looking at the photos right now.
Yeah.
Tatami looks like they redid the tatami. It looks like they might have even like redone the windows a little bit, or they.
Yeah, I think there are some double pane windows on there, from what I remember from our walkthrough. There's a unit bath, which, whatever, that is what it is. It's Japan, but that
Nice.
it's at least quality,
You're
right?
gonna be able to use it and not be
Yeah.
tripping.
There's a space, tucked away where you can have a little office, which is important for us as well.
Is the hope here that you're gonna be using it as like a vacation home a couple months a year, or what's been discussed with the wife on the plan for the house?
That's the thought, that this would be our base in Japan for visiting. It would give it, and for our friends too. I think a lot of our friends are really interested in Japan, but they say, I mean, especially I think European salaries, that getting to Japan, it's impossible because the flights are expensive. Even if it's cheap to rent a hotel or Airbnb, it's still prohibitively expensive for a European salary. So, giving a place for our friends to be able to go as well. But, we're looking at a couple of different things. Again, there is a cool little office space there that we feel like we can use for something. The idea being potentially a midterm rental. There's kind of growing digital nomad scene in Kanazawa. So offering a place for somebody who could work, a couple months a year. Doing that a couple times a year too would be pretty nice, just to get a little bit of extra money there on the side, and then just a place for our family to create memories. My kid came with us right when we went to Japan, and she loves it, and that to me is important. I don't think I traveled outside the United States until I was 18 years old, and then I was going to Canada because I wanted to get drunk. So giving my kid an opportunity to have a lifestyle where she can be around people. I mean, she's already doing this, but being around people who speak a different language with a different culture, and hopefully create memories at the same time.
Totally. How old is this property? Is it like built in the 80s, 90s? I think it's 80 probably, right?
It's 1956. Yeah, so it does have I've heard Eric's take on the aluminum siding, or not aluminum, but the galvanized steel siding. It is one of those, but it looks like it's in really good condition. It is a wood frame house.
It looks like it's in good condition. Yeah, someone's taking care of it, obviously, for the past a couple years.
So Mika had an agent come out from Nagano prefecture. That was the closest person. Like Mika's got people everywhere. She's got a guy everywhere. And he came out and he was saying that somebody had been living here very recently, and I can't remember if it was within the past couple of months, but at least within the past year, taking care of it. But we got the we took the advice of Mika, and I think it's good advice from anybody for anything. We do this for every house we've owned, but to do an inspection as well. And so that's kind of where we're at in the process, is waiting to hear back in the inspection.
That's interesting. I think me and Joey were talking about this actually. The longer the house is abandoned, the bigger problem it is. So if you are buying an Akiya that has been like 2 months vacant, that's like the one you want to go for. We just went to one that was 3 years abandoned, and we're just like, geez, like even if this house was in such good condition, like just nature takes over and it just things break and mold and so I think that's great that someone. It looks like from the photos we're looking at now that someone was just there. How much did you offer? What was that process like? Did you think about going lower, or what's going through your head?
We did. I'm an American, so
let's go low ballers, baby.
Right? You can take the boy out of America, but no matter what, at the end of the day, French people will always let me know that I'm American. It is 5 million yen. So we offer, 5 million yen, of course. I was like, no, that's such a low number, but that's where we are.
Was that 30,000?
Yeah, we offered 4, and they counter offered 4.3 million. So
pretty good.
Yeah, so that's like 28,000. USD. So yeah, I mean, think about it. If you get it's like a 4-bedroom house for that much money in honestly a city that I think more and more people are going to discover to be really interesting. I because I have been learning Japanese, I use these apps to try to like talk to random Japanese people and like get my my speaking up better. And I talked to people recently. I'm like, what do you think about Kanazawa? And they're like, Ishikawa prefecture is like my favorite place in Japan.
Really?
Kanazawa is like one of my favorite places to visit.
Okay.
And my Japanese teacher, she lives in Osaka, and she's like, man, my husband and I love to go up there. That's like, it's so pretty. And so I think from the local perspective, people love it. And so I think that's a good sign too.
Okay. So offer has been extended contingent of a home inspections. The home inspection is going through. Did Mika give you a quote on how much that home inspection was going to be? Again, home inspections typically are 1,000 to 1,500 depending on location, size. But what do you know? Remember what price range?
Gosh, I wanna say, and I could be wrong, but I want to say it was about 150,000 yen.
Okay, so about $1,000.
About 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get a 40, 50-page paper back, but just know that it's not bulletproof. We've had customers go through this home inspection specifically through a company called Sakura, but Sakura is like a big chain, so it depends on person to person, but they have missed termite damage before, which sucks. So that being said, this is like all we can do, from our perspective. Even if there is termite damage, we've helped a lot of customers actually get rid of termites, and it seems like it's actually not as bad as it is here in the States. At least if you have termites, people like tented, spot treatment doesn't work. But for some reason in Japan, it seems like they're very familiar with the problem. So it's not too unique of a problem, I guess, amongst these houses and they're quite familiar on how to fix it. But all right, Devin, this is exciting. So offer is out there. We're waiting for it to be officially accepted. I think offer was yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yeah, exactly. Yesterday.
Okay. I don't foresee this not being accepted if this is their counter offer, right?
Yep.
Okay. If the inspection comes back and shows major structural foundation problems, we will probably regroup.
No, I mean, I'll be honest, like we're trying to play this as conservative as possible because it's still $30,000, right? And there are plenty of other places. I think folks might have heard on this website called AkiyaMart that there's 9 million empty homes in Japan.
Maybe more now.
Maybe more. If this one doesn't work out, then so be it. There's other ones out there, but we're crossing fingers that that's not the case.
Okay. So just so and I guess for listeners, after your offer is accepted, the next step is we typically make a contract. So this is where it officially is like a legally binding thing where you will be sending over around 10% down payment. This 10% down payment, we recommend using Wise. Wise is probably the best way to transfer. Each country has its own limits. So our advice, I'm just going to tell you, Devin, it's like get your stuff ready sooner than later, load it up in Wise, send it over early. Our agents do act kind of as an escrow. Japan doesn't use an escrow service. So you do have to trust us. I know it's a little scary, but our agents are all legit. Mika hopefully has been good to you through this process. And after contract is made, we then moved. Takes like 2 to 3 weeks to get to settlement. Settlement is where you pay the rest of the cash. We start doing the title transfer deed and all this stuff. The one wild card here is Kanazawa is still pretty inaka, I would say. So sometimes the seller side could be weird about stuff. They could be really old school about making the documents, or they want us to fax stuff. So just know there could be a little bit of X factor here. That being said, it seems like the seller's agent has been pretty not too hard to work with. They seemed amenable to your lowball offer. So you offered 20% under, and they came back with 4.3 million. So take that $700,000 and let's go party somewhere.
As far as our experience has gone, because this is not the first house we have tried to buy in Japan. We actually did find one on one of the islands in the Satoichi Sea, and didn't work out. They just didn't want to deal with working with a foreign buyer, and that is what it is. I don't blame them for that. But this house, we weren't the only foreigners looking at it.
Oh, that's right.
So
this is okay. AkiyaMart might be on. So another pro tip for AkiyaMart Direct, I guess, customers, we are able to maybe hide the listing. So Devin, at this point, this listing is pretty much yours. I don't think someone is going to come in. You put it in first. So I won't be, but like we for AkiyaMart Direct customers, hey, we can help you buy an Akiya in Japan. We do have a couple advantages and tricks up our sleeve to kind of make sure you do get the listing. But I think you're good to go here. Devin, any questions actually on what's to come here, or any concerns or any tips to the listeners?
Well, I will say you mentioned Wise, and I know that if you haven't used it before, it can be kind of scary. But I moved to France using Wise, and this is bigger sums of money than what we're talking about for buying an Akiya. And by the way, I'm getting the whole community here in Nantes on board with investing in Japan too. But it's very secure. I mean, it is a real financial institution. You have a real U.S. bank essentially tied to it. I have a real European bank. I think the one that they use for JPY conversion is in the UK for some reason. But it is solid. It works really well. I've sent a decent amount of money through Wise, and it happens almost instantaneously. So that would be my big tip to folks, is like it is very, very trustworthy, and people have been using it to move overseas for several years now.
It still trips up once in a while. So I think Wise is great, but also just like doing stuff earlier and not procrastinating is the best thing to do. So like once your offers, I would say start making sure that the rails are there. This isn't your first Wise payment. It probably works so well for you, Devin, because you've interacted with it for quite some time. But if you're listening to this, you're going to start buying make the Wise account, go and just test transfers around to make sure you feel good and you understand it. It doesn't take too long to understand. The UI is really good, but it can be tricky and a little intimidating, as Devin said.
To add on to that, Take, I will say that I know for U.S. and European Wise accounts, they are interest-bearing accounts, or they're potentially interest-bearing accounts too. So you can hold money in there. I think it's 4% APY in the U.S. and like 1.25 or something in Europe. So worst case scenario too, you can put money in there and make a little bit of cash back while you're waiting.
Heck yeah. Very last note, there seems to be a wave of French people wanting to buy in Japan recently. Maybe that's attributed to you, Devin. We got to open up that segment. How's your French? Pretty good?
It's good enough for me to be able to work in a French office. So it's, yeah. And I will say, for some reason, they love Japan. Not a lot of Japanese people in France, but love Japan.
French people love Dragon Ball Z. French people love Gundams. French people love the Japanese RPGs, I feel like, or video game.
Oh, yeah. It's the number 2 manga consumer in the world, behind Japan.
Really? What?
Yep.
Well, not the United States. I read so much manga.
Nope.
No? Okay.
Yeah, French people are doing it.
Well, let's go, France. So, yeah, I mean, again, Devin's a perfect case study in some degrees of someone being proactive and just reaching out to us and starting to work with us. So, again, if you're interested in working with us, let us know. Devin, I think after we have you go through this purchase process, would like you to be maybe a consultant and help other French people across the finish line. Because again, I can't speak French, and you can, and so let's get those the number 2 manga consumption nation in the world to help buy them some Akiyas. So, Devin, thank you for being on the show. We fingers crossed, everyone, that I think the next time we record, you will hopefully have keys in hand. But if you haven't liked the podcast, it supports me and Devin here. Smash that like button now. And Devin, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Buying a House in Japan. If you find the show helpful or at least entertaining, give us a 5-star rating. Takes 5 seconds and really goes a long way.
If you or someone you know is looking for a Japanese home, check out AkiyaMart.com, our English-friendly site that lets you browse over 500,000 listings. That's AkiyaMart.com to find your dream home in Japan.
If you've got questions or feedback, drop us a line. Email contact@AkiyaMart.com. You can also find us on Instagram as well as TikTok, where we post properties, tips on the home buying process, and updates on our own purchases and renovations.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.